Imagine you just had your annual performance review. You hit every sales target. You're managing high-stakes projects. And your reward? A massive raise. The kind of golden handcuff raise designed to keep you happy. But then the other shoe drops. You ask about the director promotion you've earned and your boss says, "I don't think you're ready." You just get lost in the weeds. You can't see the forest for the trees. My client, we'll call her Sarah, is a VP at a global investment firm. She was told exactly that. But here's the secret Sarah didn't see yet. Her boss wasn't giving her feedback, he was giving her a cage. Today we're deconstructing the Gatekeeper Boss, the phantom feedback trap, and the exact architect move you need to make when your company tries to buy your silence instead of rewarding your authority. I'm Christina Holloway. For over 25 years, I've coached senior leaders at organizations like Google, Meta, GE, and Oracle to architect their authority and navigate the high-stakes politics of Fortune 500 businesses. On this channel, I show you how to stop playing small and start communicating with the presence that demands a seat at the table. Sarah's situation was classic. She wanted a bigger role, but her boss was a gatekeeper. So the thing with Sarah was that she had accomplished a lot of wins in a short amount of time. So when she was ready for her next move, her boss indirectly put the brakes on her career trajectory. She explained to me that she would be responsible for regional relationships while her boss was starting to move into more executive responsibilities. This took him away from what brought him this far, the dynamic of high sales. He was so protective of his own territory and he didn't want to let go of the field work. So he kept his executive title and called himself Acting VP of Regional Sales. That was my client's job. That would have been her next move. And when she mentioned that to her boss, he said, "You're too hung up on titles." So he was taking up two rungs of the ladder at once. This is hierarchical resentment in its purest form. So why does a boss do this? It's because they're title hoarding. In a stagnant corporate culture, titles are seen as a finite resource. So by acting in the role Sarah earned, he was protecting himself from being obsolete, while also keeping her down. He knew that if Sarah took that title, her results would quickly outshine his. And this is what I call the glass ceiling of insecurity. If you find yourself working for a squatter boss, you have to realize that no amount of hard work will convince them to move. Their safety depends on your stagnation. When a boss tells you to be patient, they are often asking you to wait for them to feel secure. It's possible that you're moving too fast for their comfort. And I've mentioned this before. Every once in a while, we can see that we've arrived in front of a boss who doesn't know how to lead us. So that boss puts the brakes on your career development for their own comfort. But in 2026, patience can be a career killer. Sarah then asked to lead a team or have responsibility for a team member to build her leadership skills, which wasn't something she needed for the next level, but her boss told her it would be good. The problem was that her boss assigned someone on a short-term basis for her to lead. So Sarah was leading a team member, but it wasn't her team. It was someone else's team member assigned to her. So she was leading without authority. And this is extremely problematic. It is the equivalent of unpaid labor. You've been given a responsibility that's supposed to help you prepare for the next level, but it's not real. It's not documented, and it's not officially yours. It's temporary. In my coaching, I help my clients with understanding your impact. So up to this point, Sarah was relegated to a fixer. If her boss gave her a task, she finished it. But because she was so good at doing, her boss used that as an excuse to keep her away from strategy. He encouraged her to build her skills in operations to keep her out of his way. And she didn't see the point of working in business development or operations. She wanted to move into divisional sales and eventually global. She had a plan, and her boss was seemingly giving her a detour. Here's an important distinction too. I encourage my clients to ask more questions when someone suggests a new position for them. Really? Why do you think I'd be good in that area? Many times, this is an opportunity hidden in plain sight. If you weren't sure your strengths were coming through, it's important to ask the follow-up to see why someone felt you were a fit for that role. So Sarah asked, and her boss told her that it would give her a more well-rounded perspective of the business. Well, nothing in that answer had anything to do with her career development. She didn't need a more well-rounded perspective of the business. He was giving her an off-ramp so he could keep the bigger work to himself. Pay attention to why people are recommending you for work. The answer to that question should be along the lines of, you've been leading these programs with impressive results, and I think getting visibility in this area will position you strongly for your next move. That's the answer we're looking for. And the bigger problem with Sarah's boss was the vague feedback. So let's talk about that next. Let's circle back to that forest for the trees feedback. This is what I call phantom feedback. It is vague, it's subjective, and it's impossible to disprove. So in Sarah's performance review, she received a really big fat raise, and her boss and skip level explained to her that there were some issues with how she handled her projects. She was too detail-oriented. She sometimes got lost in the details. She would lose sight of the bigger picture. But here's a big fat raise to appease you, since we're not giving you that promotion and we're not really investing in ways to help you build your skills. She explained to me that she would take the work they gave her and get it done. What else could I do? Or what else was I supposed to do, right? And I'm going to be really clear here. When they tell you that you can't see the big picture, what they're usually saying is, I have intentionally left you out of the strategic meetings, so now I'm going to blame you for not knowing what happened in them. It is a circular logic trap. Sarah was in the weeds because that's where they put her. If you're being fed this feedback, you need to realize it's a distraction. They are using your attention to detail, which is a strength, by the way, and weaponizing it against your promotion. This is why precision inquiry is so vital. It forces them to define the forest they claim you aren't seeing. So this is what the precision inquiry method looks like. I told Sarah, don't defend your work, pin down their definition. She went back to her skip level and asked, I value your feedback about the big pictures. To ensure I'm aligned, what are the 3 specific strategic milestones I need to hit this quarter to prove I'm ready for the expanded VP role? And how are we going to build that into my career development plan so I have measurable results to discuss when we talk again? This is how you do it. This is an ask statement. Suddenly, the skip level gatekeeper had a problem. He had to either give her a roadmap or admit he was stalling. This is intentional communication. You are shifting the power dynamic by making the vague visible. Now, if you're thinking, why would this client stay at a place like this? Well, you're right. Why would she? In fact, she had been having friendly conversations with competitors, and now suddenly she was starting to think that her career path needed an off-ramp. So Sarah realized her current path was blocked from the inside. But at this point, we were architecting her authority. You can see where other people she worked for and trusted, by the way, were building a bubble around her and creating a narrative for her that made them feel comfortable. In this case, she really wasn't getting helpful advice or useful assignments or encouragement about being positioned for what's next. That meant she needed to start taking external conversations more seriously. And because she was working on architecting her authority, she had been networking at events, specifically events that her boss couldn't attend, but encouraged her to attend because it would be good for her. So she did. At those events, she'd run into colleagues and peers from competitors, and they were all really complimentary of her. Pay attention here. When you're out at industry events and other people are complimentary or tell you, hey, we'd love to have you over here at Acme Industries, well, you're getting a signal that's different from your boss. My client had a very strong reputation. Remember, she was moving fast up the chain of command until her boss put the brakes on her development. She was engaging, Up to date on current trends, very smart, well educated, and a real catch if a competitor could convince her to leave. And finance and tech are very competitive fields. They love to acquire talent. It's their favorite thing to do. Now, my client really didn't want to leave. She really wanted her promotion at her current company. She wasn't expecting to make a move. And I encouraged her to have conversations, but she didn't need to decide anything. Just window shop. Just look around. It doesn't hurt to have some conversations to see what else is out there. Are these competitors just having conversations, or are there real jobs with real opportunities for advancement on the table? So Sarah felt disloyal for having these talks, and that's a real feeling. This is a common hurdle for high performers who have bought into their company's mission. But I told her loyalty is a two-way street. Her company, particularly through her boss, was loyal to her output, but not her growth. By window shopping, she was reclaiming her power. In 2026, the most dangerous person in the negotiation is the person who doesn't need the deal. Because she had that raise, she wasn't running away from a bad check. She was running toward a better title. That shift in mindset is the difference between an applicant and an architect. So she came back to me a week later telling me she was now talking to a tier 1 competitor in global financial services. Remember, she wanted global experience. These specific people were colleagues she had known for some time, and they didn't just want to talk to her. They wanted to build a role for her. They actually told her they wanted her to join their team and that they were in the process of building out a role, and if she wanted to have a serious conversation with them, they would take any of her feedback on what that role would look like. Now, as you can imagine, this became overwhelming for my client. Why? Because she was used to passively going along with what her boss and leadership team were telling her. She trusted them and she believed them. Suddenly she was feeling stalled and wasn't sure what to do next. But now she's having conversations with a competitor and they're telling her, just tell us what you want. She was worried. She told me, the role doesn't exist yet. I don't know what to ask for. And I told her, Sarah, from this point forward, you aren't asking for a job. You are architecting an exit. We are going to build out what that career path would look like so you can step into that role with confidence. So clearly Sarah was standing at a crossroads. Keep in mind she had the raise in her pocket, which gave her the financial runway to negotiate from a position of total strength. She didn't need a new job. She wanted a new rank and to move her career forward. That meant she could ask for what was important to her and she could negotiate from a position of fair pay. Her boss gave her a big fat raise. That means that if she stayed at her current level for too long, she'd lose opportunities for career development and she'd quickly become priced out of her level. When you make the decision to move and it's not related to financial gain, you have more bargaining leverage to build a role that suits you best. And timing is important here. She had just received the raise. She hadn't been sitting on that increased pay for too long. She could walk in and ask for the title she wanted, the responsibilities and exposure she was looking for, and stay competitive with the pay and equity without needing to ask for more money. Without the title and responsibilities, she would get stalled. So, how do you negotiate a VP title for a role that hasn't even been written yet? That's exactly what we're covering in part 2 of this Architecting Authority Masterclass. Next Saturday, I'm going to share the exact ask statements Sarah used to walk into a competitor and dictate her terms. Type level up in the comments if you've ever been told you lack presence when you are actually just doing all the work. And grab my communication toolkit at the link below to prep for your own next level. And if you enjoyed watching this video and you found it helpful, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up by hitting that like button and make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you never miss another video from me. I'm Christina Holloway. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.